Imagine a sound so loud it shatters the very foundations of a political empire, because that is precisely what the Department of Justice just unleashed upon the world. We are looking at a newly released recording that captures Donald Trump in a light so incredibly damaging and so undeniably incriminating that the most seasoned legal minds are labeling it the single most catastrophic piece of evidence ever to be made public against a former leader of the United States. This isn't some whispered rumor, a blurry leak, or a story told through a third party. This is a high-fidelity, official DOJ release featuring Trump's own voice, recorded during a moment he believed was strictly confidential. In this audio, he is heard explicitly admitting that he kept classified documents in violation of the law, while simultaneously plotting ways to ensure federal investigators would never lay their eyes on them. It is truly staggering to think that the government has actually allowed the public to hear this for themselves. Before we go any further into this historic evidence, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and share it so others can see the truth of what is happening. For months on end, there was a general awareness that prosecutors had audio files in their possession, and we knew that witnesses cooperating with the government had turned over various recordings. However, actually hearing the voice of Donald Trump himself, listening to him chuckle about the prospect of hiding sensitive files from the FBI, and hearing him weigh which of his staff members could be relied upon to lie on his behalf, is a chilling experience that moves the needle in a way no transcript ever could. Right now, Trump is in a state of total volcanic eruption, firing off dozens of panicked and aggressive statements on social media, launching attacks against everyone from the Attorney General to the presiding judges and even his own former legal counsel. This isn't just another temporary storm in the news cycle that will blow over by next week. We are witnessing evidence so crystal clear and so devoid of any alternate meaning that even the most dedicated loyalists in Trump's corner are finding it nearly impossible to find an excuse. This recording effectively sets fire to every single defense his legal representatives have tried to build over the last few years. Mark my words, the political and legal shockwaves from this specific release are going to fundamentally rewrite the entire landscape for the 2026 elections. Let me break down the specifics of what has been unfolding. To truly grasp why this specific piece of audio is so fatal to his case, you have to look at what Trump has been telling the public for more than 2 years. His entire legal defense has been supported by 3 main pillars. The first was the claim that he had no idea there were even classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. The second was his assertion that he had magically declassified every single item through a secret, standing order. The third was the narrative that he was cooperating perfectly with the authorities and that any breakdown in communication was strictly the fault of his lawyers. This recording completely vaporizes all 3 of those claims in less than 4 minutes of playtime. According to the official transcript that was released right alongside the audio, Trump is heard explaining to his associates that he knows exactly which documents he has and precisely where they are being kept. He doesn't just speak in generalities, he mentions specific high-level intelligence programs by their actual names. He is caught on tape discussing which of these materials would cause the most legal jeopardy if the government ever found them. At one point, his voice is clear as a bell saying, "This is still classified. We definitely can't let them see this one." That one sentence alone is a death blow to the declassification defense. You simply cannot argue in a court of law that you declassified documents while you are simultaneously being recorded acknowledging that they remain classified. Trump's own words serve as the ultimate proof that he knew the materials were sensitive. He knew their classified status remained active, and he knew he had no legal right to possess them. But the situation gets even more dire for the former president. The recording also catches Trump in the middle of a discussion about how to respond to a federal subpoena that was demanding the immediate return of all classified records. Instead of talking about how to comply with the law, he is heard strategizing about which specific documents should be hidden, which storage spots the investigators are currently unaware of, and which of his employees are loyal enough to move boxes around without asking any dangerous questions. Legal experts who have sat down and analyzed this audio say this is the literal textbook definition of obstruction of justice. Andrew Wiseman, who previously served as the FBI's general counsel, went on MSNBC just hours after the audio dropped and stated that in his entire career he has never seen evidence of obstruction this blatant and clear. Trump isn't just failing to follow the rules of a subpoena, he is actually recorded on a hot mic coming up with a plan to actively defeat and circumvent it. And here is the real kicker. The recording also features Trump talking about his own attorneys in a way that could potentially strip away attorney-client privilege for several crucial conversations. He talks openly about which of his lawyers will do exactly what he says without asking questions, and which ones might actually have ethical qualms about participating in the concealment of evidence. Legal scholars point out that using an attorney to facilitate a crime or an act of obstruction, rather than seeking legitimate legal advice, means that those conversations are no longer protected by privilege. This means the DOJ might have just found the key to unlock a massive new category of evidence that was previously off limits. Make sure you leave a comment below letting us know what you think about this new evidence. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you find this breakdown helpful. Trump's reaction to this release has been nothing short of explosive and, from a legal standpoint, utterly self-destructive. Within the first few hours of the audio going public, he posted more than 40 times on Truth Social. He called the recording a complete fabrication, claimed it was a product of AI manipulation, and even suggested that the Department of Justice had professionally edited and spliced different conversations together to frame him for a crime he didn't commit. He went after Attorney General Merrick Garland, calling him a criminal, and labeled special counsel Jack Smith as a deranged and corrupt individual, while simultaneously suggesting that the judges in charge of his cases should be removed from office through impeachment. However, there is a major problem with claiming a recording is fake in the year 2025. Modern forensic audio analysis can prove the authenticity of a clip with absolute certainty. According to reporting from the Washington Post, the DOJ knew Trump would make these claims, so they released the recording with a comprehensive chain of custody and verification from independent forensic labs. 3 different high-level audio laboratories have already come forward to confirm that the recording is 100% authentic and has not been altered in any way. Trump's insistence that the audio is a deep fake isn't just a difference of opinion, it is a provable lie. Every single time he repeats that lie, he is handing prosecutors more evidence that he is willing to deceive the public about objective physical facts. Now, we have seen Trump caught on tape saying things that by all rights should have ended his career before. There is a clear pattern here that tells us everything we need to know about his survival strategy. Think back to the infamous Access Hollywood tape in 2016. Trump was recorded boasting about his ability to sexually assault women, using language that was so incredibly graphic and crude that major news networks weren't even sure if they were allowed to air it. At that moment, his campaign looked like it was dead in the water. High-ranking Republicans were calling for him to step down, but he survived that crisis by denying the intent, deflecting the blame, and eventually leaning into the controversy as proof that the elites were out to get him. Then we had the recording of his phone call with Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. In early 2021, Trump was caught on that line pressuring an election official to find the exact number of votes he needed to flip the state away from Joe Biden. Legal experts screamed that it was election interference, but Trump once again walked away by claiming it was a perfect call, and that anyone who saw wrongdoing was just a political enemy. The Ukraine call that triggered his first impeachment followed this exact same blueprint, even when the transcript showed him pressuring a foreign leader to dig up dirt on a political rival. He called it perfect and kept his base of support solid. So, you might be wondering why this specific recording is any different. The answer is simple. This one requires absolutely zero interpretation. In all those previous scandals, there was just enough room for ambiguity. Trump could say the Access Hollywood tape was locker room talk. He could claim the Georgia call was just him being concerned about election integrity. He could maintain that the Ukraine call was about fighting corruption. His supporters could look at those events and choose to believe a different version of the story. This new recording offers no such luxury. There is no trapdoor. Trump is heard explicitly acknowledging that he has classified documents. He is heard explicitly planning to hide them from the law. He is heard explicitly strategizing about how to obstruct the investigation. There are no other ways to read into this. There is no gray area left to exploit. This is the sound of Donald Trump's own voice confessing to federal felonies. What is actually contained in these 11 minutes of audio? And why did the DOJ decide to let the public hear it now? In the official statement that came with the release, prosecutors explained that they felt public disclosure was necessary because of the sheer amount of misinformation being spread about the evidence. To put that in plain English, Trump has been lying about what the government has on him, so they decided to show their cards. While the full tape is 11 minutes long, the DOJ only released specific segments totaling about 4 minutes to protect classified secrets. In the first part, Trump is caught discussing military planning documents and intelligence reports that he describes as really secret stuff regarding other nations. He talks about these top secret items as if they were personal trophies, things he is entitled to own, even while he admits he knows they are classified. In the second part, he reacts to the news that the National Archives wants their property back. Instead of talking about how to return them, he starts talking about moving boxes to hidden locations that the government doesn't know about. He even weighs the loyalty of his employees to see who would be willing to help him hide them. In the third segment, which was recorded after he received the subpoena, Trump is heard talking about the advice his lawyers gave him to just give the documents back. He flat out rejects that advice. He says, and I quote, "They want us to give everything back, but that's not happening. They're not getting the good stuff." He then goes on to discuss a plan to give a partial fake response that would make it look like he was cooperating while he actually kept the most sensitive documents hidden away. Legal analysts are in total agreement that this third segment is the nail in the coffin. It proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Trump knew about the legal requirement of the subpoena and made a conscious, calculated decision to break the law while lying about it. That isn't a mistake. That is a crime. This has put Trump in a corner with no escape. If he keeps saying the tape is fake, the science will prove he is a liar, and juries do not like defendants who lie about facts that can be proven. If he admits the tape is real but says he was misunderstood, the words, "they're not getting the good stuff," will haunt him because they have no other meaning. If he tries to say the recording was illegal, he runs into the fact that one-party consent is the law in Florida, meaning the person who recorded it had every right to do so. The recording is fully admissible in court. Trump's own legal team has been remarkably quiet since this audio went live. Sources within his camp have told CNN that his lawyers are in a state of total crisis. They realize that every defense they had planned has been wiped out. One source even used the word funereal to describe the mood, with attorneys admitting behind closed doors that a conviction is now almost a certainty. According to a report from Politico dated December 8th, at least 2 of his lawyers have already told him they are quitting because they can no longer represent him in good faith knowing this evidence exists. This is a massive problem because Trump was already having a hard time finding good lawyers. Big firms won't take his calls, and top-tier criminal defense experts have stayed away. Now, his current team is falling apart. To make matters worse, his public attacks on the legal system are creating even more trouble. Claiming the tape is fake when it isn't could be seen as further obstruction, and his threats against officials could lead to witness intimidation charges. Before we wrap up the final details of this story, please hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss an update on this developing situation. This whole situation is fundamentally changing the political world. Republican leaders are now in an impossible spot. They have spent years defending this man, saying the evidence was weak or politically motivated. Now there is a tape of him confessing. How do you spin that? Some are trying to stick with the fake news line, but that will become an embarrassment as the forensic evidence piles up. Others are staying silent, but Trump is already demanding they come out and defend him, and silence is being seen as a betrayal. The Wall Street Journal has reported that several major GOP donors have already stopped their checks because they feel Trump has finally become too toxic to support. Audio evidence is different than a paper trail. It is visceral and immediate. For the Democrats, this is a massive win for the 2026 cycle. You can bet you will hear this audio in every campaign ad for the next 2 years. A flash poll from YouGov taken right after the release shows that a majority of the country, including nearly a quarter of all Republicans, believe this recording should disqualify him from ever holding office again. The Department of Justice has essentially released a confession. Trump's response has been pure anger, attacking the very people who hold his fate in their hands. His legal team is gone, his allies are looking for the exits, and the American people have finally heard the truth. This recording changes the game entirely. The next few weeks will decide if anyone is left standing by his side. Keep a close watch on this because the stakes have never been higher and the end has never seemed more certain. Trump used his voice to build his power, and now that very same voice might be the thing that finally brings him down.